Titans, Void Lords, all of this cosmic drama in the Shadowlands. It all now exists within a cosmos shaped by the first ones. NordVPN, today's sponsor, can shape the cosmos, but at nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming or with the code Bellular Gaming, well, you'll get the 2-year plan with a huge discount and an extra month free. And with that, you can say, well, watch content from any other region in the world, in the likes of, say, Netflix. Yes, you can use their thousands of servers to browse the internet securely as if you were anywhere. They also keep you private. Your ISP won't know what sites you're using. That means they can't sell your browsing data to advertisers. They can't prioritize some of the web traffic that you use over others. They've also got things like NordLocker. I mean, that's 500 gigs of secure storage for only £1.10. Wow. And then NordPass for your passwords. The app and browser extension are super easy to use, and you can get a big, humongous deal and a free month at nordvpn.com/Bellular Gaming or with the Bellular Gaming promo code. A big thanks to Nord for supporting the team, and with that said, let's get into the video. The first ones are mysterious, and that really is quite an understatement. Since launch, there are a few questions left unanswered. In vanilla, we knew who Sargeras was. The Burning Crusade then expanded that lore, and then Legion finished that arc, at least for now. Similarly, the old gods and titans were hyper-mysterious. We met Cthulhu in vanilla, and by the time Wrath released, the titans and their enemies, well, they were the most powerful figures in the Warcraft setting. That arc finished with BFA, and with it, the cosmos became a known quantity. We knew that Shadowlands was going to expand the lore, really that it needed to, because we didn't really know where Blizzard were going to go next. We had been promised an adventure around the cosmic chart, and that is exactly what we are getting. But interviews running up to Shadowlands' launch told us about the first ones. And with their introduction, the cosmos suddenly became even more huge. We could no longer trust Chronicle. In Ian's words, we needed to zoom out. That doesn't tell us that the chart is necessarily wrong, it more tells us that its vision is a bit too small, that the cosmos in reality is far grander. Titans, Void Lords, all of this cosmic drama in the Shadowlands, it all now exists within a cosmos that was shaped by the first ones. And that is today's video. So, understanding all we covered in the intro, what do we actually know about the first ones? Well, we know that they ordered the Shadowlands. So far, we have encountered quite a few of their relics, and it's clear that they are ancient. Most common example of their technology is the spirit obelisks. You can see them active with First One's energy whenever you die in the Shadowlands. And yes, that is how death works in the Shadowlands, via First One's relics. Evidence of their perhaps once great civilization is everywhere, like in the Anima Conduit system. The very power of a sanctum was laid by the First Ones long ago. Then consider the Trinket, relic of the First Ones. This trinket reduces Covenant ability cooldowns by 20%, and that does show that even the Covenant powers themselves, well, they come from the First Ones. Considering all of that then, we see that the realms of the Shadowlands are built on, well, bones left by the First Ones. We do not know if the Pantheon of Death, that's characters like the Winter Queen and Denathrius, was put in place, or if they took over from the First Ones, but it is abundantly clear that they derive their power and their authority from the First Ones. Our first interaction with their ancient technology was the Waystone in the Maw. It really shocked the powers that be in the Shadowlands that this champion of Azeroth could actually activate this Waystone. In Oribos, then, there was another long-dormant piece of technology, the Great Vault. Yes, if you're a regular player doing your Mythic Pluses and getting some loot, you may not know that the Great Vault is actually a key piece of Shadowlands lore. There is a broker called Baval, and he tells us that in his time observing the vault, it had not opened. But we could open it, and there's an interesting connection there that we'll explore later. Now, bringing it back to Oribos, well, Oribos, the Eternal City, was built by the first ones, and broker Basilk refers to it as an ancient engine. This engine sits at the heart of everything that the first ones ordered in the Shadowlands, and of course, the machinery of death. And at the heart of this machinery is the Arbiter, who the attendants believe was created by the first ones. Now, there is also evidence pointing to Oribos and the Arbiter being, well, sort of linchpins in the first one's creation. Talinara tells us that if the jailer was to destroy the Arbiter, that it would be the end of everything they made. Now, this is clearly, everything in the Shadowlands, but it could have far more significant cosmos-ending consequences. Because the Shadowlands and death being destroyed, well, that would obviously destroy the balance of things that has fallen into place. Alright, here's the big one, which I think should give you an appreciation of the power levels that we're talking about here. It really is getting quite big. The first ones shaped the cosmos. We know this, actually, from the Shadowlands art book of all places, but it's put forward more poignantly in-game, thankfully. Opulence Beher tells us that Oribos is indeed impressive, but that it pales in comparison to the other works of the first ones. Now, as we discussed in a recent video, the brokers can travel the cosmos' many different realities, and on their travels, they encountered far greater constructs of the first ones than Oribos. That's the obvious deduction here. Well, if Oribos is so integral to the machinery of death, and it pales in comparison to what else is out there, then what else is out there, right? What are the other machineries that are running? I mean, bring these two pieces of evidence together, and we see this vast cosmos littered with god engines of a long, long departed civilization. In many ways, take us exploring the Storm Peaks, seeing these engines, right, built into the earth. Take that, scale it up, and then scale it up a few more times, and then I think you're approaching what we're discussing here. The final thing to understand is that we cannot trust the information that is out there. You see, in the Quest, the Hall of Tombs, a book named Paths of the First Ones is actually described as being filled with half-truths and speculations. And this kind of reinforces the role that I think Blizzard wants these first ones to play. So ancient that they become so alien to us and so powerful that they are entirely unknowable and barely understandable. A bit like how the Titans were to us long, long ago in the days of us venturing into the halls of Uldaman. The first ones have become mythologized, right? Likely represented as both more and less than they actually were. Thus far, we have discussed the initial sources on the first one, so let's bring them together into 4 working theories. We're going to begin with the least likely, that the first ones are Titans. This was appealing when they were first revealed. Perhaps they were Titans, or maybe death-aligned Titans who, like our Titans, had been absent for thousands and thousands of years. There was more evidence in the clear link between, of course, the Champion of Azeroth and the First One's technology, as if perhaps the link that let us use that waystone was Titan ancestry itself. But the more we've discovered about these First Ones, the less likely that becomes. I think a distinction needs to be made when we talk about the Titans' ordering of planets and the First One's shaping of the cosmos. And I think the difference in those words, ordering and shaping, is important. Because ordering, of course, has the connotations of order, one of the fundamental forces we see in the chart. Whereas it's possible that the first ones, in fact, shaped the fundamental powers. Again, remember when Ian said, I believe it was actually in his interview with me, that what we need to do is zoom out on the chart. The next theories then depend on the timeline of creation. We understand that everything began after a clash between light and void. The question is, did the first ones come before or after this clash? Well, let's explore the before potential first. In this theory, the cosmos forms much in the way described in Chronicle. Everything settles from the clash of light and void, and then the fundamental powers arise. The first one's name actually might be pretty damn literal. The first sentience to arise. Perhaps a pure manifestation of this early universe where there wasn't as much of a distinction between order and disorder, life and death, and the others. Now, why would this interpretation of the first ones shape the cosmos? Well, it's going to be hard to pinpoint the rationale of the first ones, but like with the Titans, I would suggest a mix of self-interest and perhaps some good intentions. Maybe they looked at all that was out there and thought, we could probably improve this by building a few engines here and there. Death? Well, you look a bit chaotic. Let's build Ouroboros and clean you up. It might be easier to discover their intentions if we actually divorce magic from the situation. Let's just call the first ones a progenitor race, right? Before the Titans awoke, maybe their civilization spanned the cosmos. Their technology so advanced it became indistinguishable from magic. And to sustain this civilization, they perhaps needed to build megastructures, such as Ouroboros, to maintain all of the essential functions. And then maybe, down through the ages, this super powerful cosmos-faring species got mythologized into the Shapers, the first ones, they who made everything. But why would this interpretation go through the effort? Why would they bother to set all of this stuff up? Well, we know that anima is an energy source, and we know that Ouroboros is an engine, so it's clear that some process is at work here. Perhaps a process that sustained the first one's civilization. Maybe we're talking about very spooky fantasy Kardashev scales. Could be the case. That interpretation may follow a bunch of logic and common tropes in fantasy and science fiction, but you might say, well, it's not that much fun. So, let's have some fun. Let's take it to the limits. The first ones existed before the clash of light and void, before the Big Bang of the WoW universe. If this is true, then there's a strong case to state that shaping the cosmos is synonymous with creating the cosmos, that the first ones are the clockmakers. The closest analogy here is actually Tolkien's Legendarium. There, Iluvatar created Arda, using the music of lesser deities, but Iluvatar existed outside of creation. Now, we have speculated that the clash of light and void likely represented the beginning of another cycle. Following this, our cycle perhaps will end with the total domination of one force. If the jailer gets his way, then perhaps that force would be death. We then have to ask, why did the first ones build this whole system? Why did they do it? Are they a consequence of this cycle? Do new first ones emerge with each iteration? Or are they separate and eternal, observing our cosmos from the outside? If they are so powerful, do the first ones need a rationale to shape the cosmos? And if we found out what that rationale is, would we even understand it? As you can see here, the idea of these first ones coming essentially before the cosmos exploded into existence as we knew it is a bit wacky, and you can see that the rabbit hole goes pretty damn deep, and it's got us asking about the condition of the creation before it even existed. So, you know what? Before it goes totally crazy, and we all lose the plot, let's just put a pin in this one and leave it for now. Perhaps Blizzard will drop a few more breadcrumbs, and maybe it will be that we have some sort of analogy of, Big Bang, expansion, big crunch, new cycle. If we're going to take some of the theories that exist from the real physics and think, maybe Blizzard are trying to sci-fi fantasy them up. Okay, time for the conclusion. The first ones have been absent from the Shadowlands for a very, very long time. That much we know. And the subtext of everything else we found leads us to believe they have been absent from the whole cosmos for a very long time indeed. We can question what happened to them. If they were like the Titans or the Olympians, you know? I mean, with that situation, right? The Titans were a group of gods that were essentially destroyed by their creations, the Olympians. Or maybe, with the first ones, they just disappeared into irrelevance. Maybe it's like the Halo universe, where the Forerunners made the Halo rings and then were destroyed in the usage of said Halo rings. Well, I think what is certain is that the first one's technology is powerful and mysterious, pretty much beyond anything we have encountered before. And here's what's clear. Blizzard are giving us a new mystery. But I don't think they'll keep the first ones at arm's length forever. I think we'll find out more during this expansion, and what we find out, I think will open up the cosmos, in those sort of grand scales, as something that we can explore in future expansions. I mean, Blizzard have essentially said that's what they want to do. We can only imagine then what other God Engine superstructures are out there in the cosmos, you know? Is it the Warcraft version of a Dyson sphere? But I think one thing is for sure here. As soon as we're done in the realm of the dead, we're probably going to go and find out more about the first ones. So there you go. The first ones have been mentioned a few times in the Shadowlands, and I think it's stuff that some people have noticed and not really thought about that much. But then you look at things like the relic of the first ones, you look at the art style of various different parts of your Covenant Sanctum. I mean, soul binding, right? At your soul binding station. That's obviously first one technology when you look at it. I mean, man, there's just so many pieces to pull together that it really is, I would say, interesting. Is it good? Is it bad? That is a different question. I, for one, do prefer soft magic systems to hard magic systems, because I think it's very satisfying to build out a hard magic system and build all of these rules and regulations for your universe, but I do think there is just a sort of a beauty and a realm of storytelling that soft magic systems allow that I really do like quite a lot. I would say to Blizzard, the Titans were cool when we were going around Uldaman or running around Storm Peaks going, whoa, that's really big and spooky, cool. But they got less cool whenever we could, you know, just say hello to them and have a chat, right? So I would say this to Blizzard. It's really important that our fantasy setting doesn't turn into an over-explained science fiction setting. And I really do think, and by the way, I love science fiction, but for World of Warcraft, I think the first ones are a great storytelling device. Absolutely awesome. I just think the Blizzard needs to not over-explain them, and they need to be what the Titans originally were. Just mystery. Pure mystery and wonder and exploration that flavors this universe that we adventure through. That is what I think. I would love to know what you think, though, so do let me know. And with that said, thank you for watching. Check out those links down in the description, and I will see you next time.